All right, the NFL draft is come and gone. Free agency, for the most part, is over. So as we look ahead to 2024, there are just 5 teams I think can win a Super Bowl this upcoming season. They are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, the San Francisco 49ers, the Detroit Lions, and fifth and finally, drumroll, the Philadelphia Eagles. Those are the only 5 teams I can see winning a Super Bowl this upcoming year. Let's dive into it. I'll also explain why few teams left off the Super Bowl contender list for 2024. First up, explanation-wise, I don't really need to, but I'll do it anyway. Kansas City Chiefs. Right? I can just say 2 words, Patrick Mahomes. But I want to go beyond that because you look at last year's run to the Super Bowl and the playoffs, I'd argue that defense for Kansas City was more important and was a bigger key to them winning the Super Bowl than Patrick Mahomes was. And so I loved what Kansas City did in locking up Chris Jones long-term. He is the second most important player on that team. It's not Travis Kelce. It's Chris Jones. He sets the tone on defense. I'm glad the Chiefs didn't mess around. They signed him to a big-time deal. That is the right move. That's reason number 1. Their defense is going nowhere. Reason number 2 is Mahomes showed you last year. Receiver questions don't matter. And I got a lot of questions about this receiver core going into 2024. I actually feel worse about it than I did even last year. Rashee Rice right now is in a whole bunch of legal issues. We're recording this on Tuesday, May 7th. He got into another altercation reportedly with a photographer in a club. He's got right now his hands full with a lot of stuff off the field. So who knows if he'll even play this year and how much he'll play. He's going to be not a big factor. So your best receiver from last year may not be on the team or be a big contributor this season. Don't love the fact that your 2 most reliable, and I put those in air quotes, receivers are Kadarius Toney and Hollywood Brown. And then you added Xavier Worthy as well, a rookie. But Mahomes showed you last year, receiver questions don't matter when you got 15 under center. Chiefs will be fine. They're going to go for the three-peat. They absolutely are a Super Bowl contender. Bengals are right there too. Because Joe Burrow showed you when he's healthy, he's the only one that can go toe-to-toe with Mahomes. I know, look, we got a long way to the regular season, but so far, Burrow in his first day back at practice on Tuesday looked good, said the wrist felt good. And you look at the rest of that team is stacked. If Burrow can stay healthy, which I think he can, this is going to be the only other team I think in the AFC that can push the Chiefs this upcoming year. You got still a really good receiving core with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Spoiler alert, T. Higgins ain't getting traded. Right move, by the way. Now there's Trey Hendrickson, so you're going to have your sack man on the edge terrorizing QBs again next year. This Cincinnati roster is good. I like the fact that they added Sheldon Rankins on the defensive line to beef up that D-line as well. Cincinnati is going to be a problem for the Chiefs yet again. They are the only other Super Bowl contender, in my opinion, in the AFC for 2024. Let's go to the NFC. The San Francisco 49ers. I mean, it's kind of like the Chiefs, right? The AFC. I don't need a long time to explain why they're on the list. It's obvious. The roster is loaded. Brock Purdy's the real deal. If you're a Brock Purdy hater, at this point, you're just blind. You don't know football. The dude is legit. He is a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. Kyle Shanahan, Super Bowl caliber head coach as well. And I'm not worried about the receiver questions, not drama, but, I don't think Deebo Samuel is going to be traded before week 1. I don't think Brandon Ayuk is going to be traded before week 1. I think both of them will be there. I do think Ayuk will get a long-term deal done. I do. So I don't think, forget about just this year, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon out of San Francisco. That team is deep. That team is legit. Speaking of legit, so are the Lions. They showed you last year. This team is really damn good. They are talented all up and down the roster. Jared Goff showed you he's a big-time playoff quarterback. He made some big-time throws in the postseason that I think should give Lions fans excitement and maybe give, if you're competing against the Lions, other fan bases concern of Jared Goff's going to be a problem. Thought he played really well in the postseason on the way to the NFC title game, and I loved how Detroit attacked their offseason. Right, their biggest weakness last year was the secondary. They were horrendous in stopping the pass. So what do? You draft Terrion Arnold, in the first round. And then you also bring in, from the veteran perspective, Carlton Davis. So you get a vet and you get a rookie, 2 talented players. Carlton Davis, by the way, with championship experience, which I like, as well, to help bolster that secondary and help shore up a weakness. That team, absolutely, the Lions, that is, can go toe-to-toe with the 49ers and with the other team as well, I'm about to list here, the Eagles, in terms of being a real Super Bowl contender next year. Finally, the Eagles. They got talent, man. They got a whole lot of talent. And I'm willing to bet that talent wins out in the end. I think, from my perspective, last year, they were hurt more by lack of chemistry, lack of cohesion, and really a lack of belief in the coaching staff more than not having the talent to finish strong at the end. Like, I just think, honestly, the offense did not trust Brian Johnson, their former offense coordinator, to call the right plays and put them in a position to succeed. The defense, I mean, at one point you had Matt Patricia calling plays. Disaster. So now you upgrade at both of those positions. You bring Kellen Moore in to call the plays, who has shown you he's had success everywhere he's gone. And then you bring in Vic Fangio on the defensive side, who's a well-respected defense coordinator. I think that's a problem that the Eagles fixed. Jalen Hurts, I still believe, is an MVP caliber, Super Bowl caliber quarterback. You have one of the best wide receiver duos in the league in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Yeah, add Saquon Barkley, by the way, this year as well. And similar to the Lions, I like how Philly approached the secondary this offseason, which is a big weakness for them last year, by bringing back C.J. Gardner-Johnson, someone who worked well when they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And then you draft both Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean as well, so bringing two young but talented players as well. You get three pieces in that secondary to help shore up what was a leaky secondary last year. The Eagles, to me, are going to be back. I think we're going to see 2022 version of the Eagles in 2024 more than a repeat of the 2023 version. Ooh, moving the camera here. My bad about that. And so those are the 5 teams. That's it. 5 teams that can win a Super Bowl in 2024. Chiefs, Bengals, 49ers, Lions, Eagles. Before you attack me in the comments, and please let me know who I left off, and maybe there's a team I listed you don't believe should be listed. Drop a comment in the comment section if you're listening to this. Hick at Night podcast, Night spelled N-I-T-E. Appreciate you listening. Tweet me, Ryan_Hickey and the number 3 on Twitter, or go to our YouTube page. Ryan Hickey's a channel. Subscribe while you're there and comment as there as well if you want to get your voice heard. A few teams left off. Let me give my explanations. Number 1, I'm sure that the one you're probably saying the most, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 1 seed in the AFC last year, MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Here's why, to me, they're not a Super Bowl contender in 2024. I can't call you a Super Bowl contender if I don't trust your quarterback to play well in the big moment. And that has been right now the bugaboo for Lamar Jackson. He has been an awesome, amazing, elite regular season quarterback. When it comes to the postseason, he has struggled. He has been flat out bad for 90% of his playoff career. And so if you're a bad playoff quarterback, I can't sit here and tell you that you're a Super Bowl contender because I can't trust your quarterback is going to play at a level that's good enough to lead you to the promised land. Let me give you some stats if you disagree right now when it comes to Lamar and his bad playoff performance. 2 costly turnovers that hurt them last year in the AFC title game against the Chiefs. But you look at Lamar Jackson from the regular season compared to the postseason, his career, passer rating, completion percentage, touchdown rate, all down in the postseason compared to the regular season. Interception rate, up. And in 6 playoff games, Lamar Jackson has accounted for a grand total, rushing and throwing, 9 touchdowns, while turning the ball over 9 times. 9 touchdowns, 9 turnovers, 6 games in the playoffs. Lamar's not a playoff quarterback, not at this point in his career. I can't sit here and tell you, even though I love the Derrick Henry edition, this team is a Super Bowl contender because I can't trust Lamar come postseason time. I can't. Ravens, off the list. Bills, I mean, this team continues to fall short in the playoffs. Always underachieves. And now this offseason, they get worse from the previous years in which they underachieved. I can't call the Bills a Super Bowl contender. Look who they lost this offseason. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morse, 2 starting receivers, 3 starting secondary members, and their starting center. And I don't think they replace any of those players with an upgrade at their position. So you're going to tell me that this Bills team should be a Super Bowl contender when they've completely underwhelmed in the playoffs, really their entire, we'll say the last 2 years. 2 years in the postseason, they've underwhelmed completely and then got worse? Sorry, you're not on the list. Bills will compete for the division. They'll be a playoff team for sure. There's a big gap between the Chiefs, the Bengals in the AFC, and then the Bills. Not a Super Bowl contender. Cowboys, why they're not on the list? See the Bills. Lost a lot of talent, didn't add any, underachieved in the playoffs, not on the list. Finally, last team I'll mention here, the Houston Texans. Promising year one under CJ Stroud. Well, they are not on this list despite a really good offseason where you add Danielle Hunter on the edge, where you trade for Stephon Diggs. Why they, to me, are not a Super Bowl contender going into 2024. I want to see first. I got to see it before I can believe it. I want to see how CJ Stroud in year two responds when there's a full year of tape on him. Had a tremendous rookie season. But now defensive coordinators and teams have had a full year of tape out and a whole offseason to study what CJ Stroud does well, what he doesn't do well, what he excels in, what he struggles in. The game plans in 2024 are going to be a whole lot different than what he saw in 2023. I want to see how Stroud adjusts in year two before I put them on a Super Bowl caliber or Super Bowl contender list. Also, one thing that I have a question about that I'm not sold on yet is Stephon Diggs' fit in this offense. Diggs is a selfish player. That's a guy who cares more about his targets than he does wins on the field. And so if he was upset about targets in Buffalo, where he was clearly the best and number one receiver in that offense, well, how is he going to go then be a contributor and make this offense in Houston better when honestly you could argue at times he's going to be the third receiver? Nico Collins had a great year last year in 2023, and Tank Dell was like CJ Stroud's favorite target till he got hurt. You have two really good receivers ahead of Diggs or equal with Diggs. How is he going to take that? I don't think very well. And so I have questions about how he's going to gel in this offense, gel with this team. He's been known to cause trouble. Ask Minnesota, ask Buffalo. I don't think anything's going to change here in Houston. So I got pause about Diggs' fit in this offense, and I got pause and questions about how Stroud in year two now is going to react with defenses having a full year of tape on him. I want to see how he adjusts before I put the Texans in this Super Bowl contender category. Also, not to mention, we saw in the playoffs, they won a playoff game, great game, but then we saw them get boat raced by the Ravens. There's still a gap between them and the Ravens, and if I don't have the Ravens as a Super Bowl contender, I can't have the Texans as a Super Bowl contender. So those are the 5 teams I think can win a Super Bowl, and those are the teams I think on the outside looking in. Chiefs, Bengals, 49ers, Lions, Eagles. 5 teams in 2024 that I think are the only ones that can win a Super Bowl. Tell me where I'm wrong. Again, comment section on YouTube, Ryan Hickey's a channel name, right? Which team I left off or which team should not be included in the 5 I think can win a Super Bowl this year. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, the audio version, Hick at Night, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your pods. Tweet me, Ryan_Hickey and the number 3 on Twitter. I'm out there. I'm on social media. I'll respond to you. Let me know which team got screwed and should be on, which team should be off the Super Bowl contender list for 2024.